Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiator, and I've got a special offer for you. So many of you will know that there is a new version of the Total War franchise coming out called Thrones of Britannia. It's really interesting. It's quite well timed. I've been talking a lot about Vikings and Anglo-Saxons and Franks and other people of this period recently, and as many of you know on this channel, it is a period which I find very interesting. The weapons, the warfare, the history, the politics of it, everything else. It's a fascinating period and very pivotal in European history. And of course, it's a great setting for the Total War franchise. And so what is it? Basically, we're set in the late 800s, so in the 9th century. After the Vikings, the Great Horde of 865 arrived in Anglo-Saxon England. It wasn't yet known really as England yet. And they arrived and they started rampaging around the country. And ultimately they defeated most of the Anglo-Saxon forces they came up against. But then Alfred the Great came back and fought them to a stalemate. And this is the point at which we find that this Total War game is set. And it's a fascinating period because, of course, unlike the modern United Kingdom, there was no United Kingdom. It was a very ununited kingdom. And when we talk about countries these days, you know, if we talk about England and Scotland and Wales and Ireland, they themselves were split up into different little ruling groups at that point. So, you know, England was a series of kingdoms, Scotland was a series of kingdoms, Ireland was a series of kingdoms. And it's a very interesting period of history because so much could have changed if things had gone slightly differently, if things had panned out in slightly different ways. Then we could be looking at a different world today because, of course, the history of Britain affected the history of the world via, ultimately, the British Empire, the Napoleonic Wars, First and Second World War, so on and so forth. So, it's a fascinating setting for the Total War series, but moreover, I'm a big fan actually of the Total War series. I played Shogun back in the day when I was still almost a kid, and you know, I stuck with it. I loved Rome. The first version of Rome I played it with the Total Realism mod. Yeah, and there's been, you know, many versions since then. Napoleonic, for example, Napoleon Total War, and this is an interesting setting, and it does bring in some of the some questions also about history, like you know, how did certain units interact with each other? There's a big question about how much cavalry was actually used, if it was used at all, by the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings, or the Danes, the Norse. But indeed, was it used in Ireland? Almost certainly, and Scotland and Wales. And this is where the game's set, because we don't just have Vikings and English or Anglo-Saxons, but we've also got Irish, Scots, Welsh. And it's very interesting to see how they interacted, and anybody who's studied this period will know that at various points, actually really in history, they formed alliances with each other against other groups. So for example, we do indeed see the Scots and the Danes allying to fight against the English. We see the Irish fighting the Welsh, and we see the Cornish and the Kentish allying with Vikings and Scots at one point to fight Wessex, for example. It gets incredibly complicated, so it's a great setting. Anyway, more about the offer here. So quite simply, it's 10% off the pre-order. So if you see below here, there is a link to the pre-order, to the Scholar Gladiatoria special offer pre-order, where you'll get 10% off the pre-order price of the game. Yeah, it looks great. Go and order it now. Additionally to that, you'll see there's another link below, and that's to essentially the back catalogue of Total War games, plus a bunch of other stuff there as well. And that's a specific link, and you'll see there's a sale on at the moment. That sale only functions for a limited period of time, and there's a bunch of other games there you might want to get straight away. Some of them are incredibly cheap, especially with the sale prices on. So, you know, go and order away and have lots of fun. And I would just reiterate, Total War, it is a computer game, but it is actually a pretty good way of testing out some of the historical tactics, strategies that we see used in history. And I absolutely think that through mediums like this, we can get a better understanding of how historical armies did encounter each other and why they used certain troops in the way that they did. Anyway, I hope this has been somewhat interesting and I really hope you enjoy the game. Links below as always. Cheers for watching and see you for the next video. Cheers folks! Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. We have extra videos on Patreon and you can follow us on Facebook.